Hello and welcome. You are watching the Policy Times, a channel based in India but accessible across the world, but only brings the issues that matter to the lives of the people in this world. We all know since last 6 to 7 months, the entire world is under tremendous crisis due to the corona. But the bigger issue that we should talk about that couple of months ago, we saw that there is locust attack in India coming from Africa. So this locust, a kind of insect coming from Africa and traveling across Iran to India through Pakistan and entering into India, destroying the agricultural field. When I was watching the documentary to find out what is the real source of it, so we finally found that it is due to the climate change that this gregarious locusts emerge, and then they are normally not aggressive, but due to the climate change gives them an opportunity to be aggressive and then destroy the agriculture of the world. It doesn't harm humans so far, but it attacks. But the crux of the story or moral is that how climate change can destroy our life. And when we talk about that, and we saw the and witnessed the corona crisis, the angle that we want to discuss is that every challenge or trouble brings equal amount of opportunity. So if climate change is the biggest trouble of the world, perhaps the biggest opportunity also lies in that. And opportunity in the sense that it also gives us a scope to bring innovation, innovative technology, innovative business process or business organization or management process, which will not help us make smarter and better and solve all these problems. I'm extremely happy that Policy Times, with support and help of UTHM University, especially the Faculty of Civil Engineering and built Environment, we got this opportunity to bring the real experts from across the world and who will talk about and share their experiences on how innovation or innovative startup also brings tremendous amount of opportunity to arrest or fight the biggest challenge of the world, climate change. So without taking any, so just to give a small background why I said so, a recent United Nations uh, research says that the climate change is also brings an opportunity of $26 trillion, which means that climate change can bring the business opportunity of $26 trillion and can create 65 million jobs. So that's the magnitude. So it is the largest, I think, problem of the world because it comprises a lot of things, and it also brings equal amount of opportunity. From the Indian context, I just wanted to show that how some innovative startups are also doing tremendously good and well and bringing solution. Like here, so in the transport sector, electric vehicle companies, startups based in India and some of the countries like Weltmeister, like ChargePoint, they're coming up with innovative models. Now here is one company like Bold, Estonia originated ride sharing company. They're like Uber, Ola, so kind of how they are also contributing in this. In the urban transport, mobile line kind of organizations are bringing innovative solutions which are directly or indirectly contributing to fight the climate change. I would not go further on this. I want to welcome my co-moderator and the real moderator of the session, Dr. Wesam from UTHM, to take over the session.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Akram. So we are happy to have distinguished panelists today from various sectors. We have Prof. Khaeruddin, Prof. K, with various experience from industry and academia, and we have Prof. Zaidi from University Technology Malaysia. He has both the academic and industrial experience, and we have Mr. Raz, Mr. Ammar from AMR Consultants, and also Mr. Omar from Canada, with more focusing on international business and IT. So let's start with Prof. K. From your various experience, Prof, both in the industry and the academia, So, related to the topic of discussion, how do you see the opportunities and challenges for the startups in the environmental and climatic change sectors?
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Dr. Wesam. Hi, my fellow panelists. Okay, the keywords, when I look at the topic is number one, startup, and then environment, and then climate change. So again, I like to use acronyms actually. In the last chat that I had, the ICE chat, I used the three S, 3A, okay? Adapt, adopt, adapt. So in other words, for startups to sustain and to be able to carry on what they do, they need to have that mindset. So they must be able to adapt, they must be able to adopt, and they must be able to adapt. ADOPT, ADAPT, ADEPT. Okay. This is an old thing. I learned that about 20, 30 years ago, but it is. I noticed that it is still relevant. This kind of thought processes. Now, I think we all know about the sustainability development goals of the United Nations, 17 of them. So okay, I won't go into those details. And then and even in some of my, in fact, in most of my classes, my MBA classes, my MBA classes, when I teach them corporate social responsibility, creativity, innovation, I will start off, and I think if you look at all the textbooks, the focus, especially when it comes to business, it's not just business, it's the government, public sector, private sector. The key fundamental, again, I'm using acronym here, the three favorite, if you look at even big oil companies, they use that as their mantra. The three P's, I call it. Planet, people, profit. So it depends how you look at it. All this while, if you look at big organizations, they will look at profit first. And they will come and tell you, say, look, we are not a social welfare organization. We are here to make money. Okay, that's one school of thought. So in line with what we are talking today about environment and climate change, so you need to put planet first, okay, and then people, and then profit. Okay. And if you talk about, I move into the startups now and to the opportunities. There's plenty, which what's our friend's name? Which Brother Akram has very, very nicely, crystallized and elucidated just a while ago to us. Now, to me, when you talk about startup, the opportunities, one most important key word here is finance. You need money. You need to have funding. So the financial mechanism is very important. Everywhere. It doesn't matter which market that you open. Okay. Let me just quickly go again, overview of what we are discussing today. Now, if climate change is viewed or envisaged, and if that is the majority of the thought, okay, of people all over the world, and if you are, startups, if you are preparing for anything at all, and you're looking at your innovation, and if it's about making your model, keyword is pliable, okay, pliable enough or easy to maneuver, as you may find that things change or go against your expectations. Okay, and then now I say this because it is uncertain. We know that we live in VUCA times, especially after the COVID. Okay, and then you will have to be careful. Things may not play out the way that you want it to do. Okay, hence people, startups, organizations, and even mindsets that are rigid, okay, and hardcore may be disadvantaged against those people who are nimble in their thinking and in their execution. In a nutshell, that's my advice, okay, to startups. Okay. Now, if you talk about climate, as in weather, okay, the masses believe we are heading towards more global warming and hotspots. I think Akram mentioned this now about the locusts. Okay, you begin to see just the dysfunctional consequence of climate change. Okay, now, but if you take the minority, don't forget there are so many schools of thought. If you take the minority thinking, okay, they will point out that we have entered the phase where the sun, okay, some of you physicists, scientists may agree with me or disagree with me, okay, is at the lowest flare and spots in its 500-year cycle, and hence we are actually could be heading towards global cooling, not global warming. Okay, many scientists, okay, who are lobbyists may not want to agree, as they may be stuck with the position and the grants and research programs. Okay, you see from Zaidi, from the university, from the academic standpoint. Then again, if you talk from the context of business and economy, okay, and we need to understand and study the cycles where it's pointing out that we are in, I'm sure we are all aware of it, that we are now in war and in a conflict cycle, okay, business-wise and economically speaking. But also, we are also at the downturns and are expected to be bumpy with news of more viruses coming, the new wave coming in, and then market crashes. I wouldn't have to go to detail, and okay, a lot of airlines have already laid off. Okay, it's scary. It's globally now. Okay, I think I saw a video clip yesterday. British Airways was saying goodbye to the world. All right, now, okay, back to where I was saying. I think it's about being nimble enough and de-gearing from borrowing. If some of you are startups that are already heavy in the borrowing, that you need to watch where possible, and if not, resist taking more debts. Okay, for those who are already there. Okay. Then again, if you are very, very sure, okay, Prof. Zaidi, your startups in the university, you are very, very sure of what you are doing and can yield beyond, normal results. This is the opportunity. This may be a good time to take advantage of this post-COVID downturn. See, that's how you look at it.
Prof?
Yeah, sorry. How much time do I have, Dr. Wesam?
We'll be back to you. So we wanted to ask Prof. Zaidi, from his experience at UTM. He was involved in starting a few startups and also some collaborations with Malaysian agencies. So from your perspective, what are the challenges and opportunities pre and post-COVID? Prof. Zaidi.
Thank you, my dear brother, Mr. Dr. Wesam, and all my respected panelists. So, okay, from my point of view, as a director for a center who handle students' innovation and entrepreneurship activities and also startups, pre-COVID, pre-COVID is actually, they go into a very fundamental or very conventional kind of projects and so on. So when we started having this COVID, and our first RMO was on the 18th of March. So at that time, actually on the 18th itself, we have one startup under our accelerator who wanted to kick off his robotic program. So it involved many people all over Malaysia, okay, who actually already purchased whatever it is, ticket and so on. We actually plan to do it face to face. So that was actually a big change where everything was cancelled. It was cancelled just maybe like just less than one day. Okay, the notification was given to every participant. But one of the things that happened in the post-COVID, I actually see a lot of good activities being done. Of course, everything is virtual like what we are doing now.
Right.
But I can see one thing that is interesting. Those students who are normally in startup, they are more on action. Okay, they do actions, they solve problem and so on. But one thing that is lacking, they lack of putting it in a document. For example, they don't actually put it explicitly in a report and so on. Of course, I'm a certified project manager, so we always want to balance between the technical report and the management report. Sometimes people give us the project done but no report. Sometimes the report done, the project is not there. Okay, so here we can see a good. If you still remember the SECI model, socialization, externalization, combination and internalization from Nonaka Sensei from Hitotsubashi Daigaku. So the pathway socialization and externalization was done very well previously. But due to the post-COVID, one thing that I see as a blessing is where students start to compile their work. The startups start to compile their work, even they prepare a very proper manual because it's lacking of face-to-face. Now people have to look at the document, and while doing the virtual connection and so on, they have manual, they have some instruction for them to actually do it. So this is where I started interviewing a few of our startup. For example, we have one startup, HF Robotic, and another one. I'm talking about the startup who is really active during the COVID period. The other one is Sigma 3D Maker. They actually developed a face shield project, UTM face shield project. We call it UTM FS project, and it was really active. People were connecting to us, and then we actually opened up during the PKP, the RMO. We actually opened up one hall for them to have their 3D printer. Everything is 3D printed, face shield, 3D printed, what they call the mask string at the back here and so on. So they get a lot of projects. So they are students at that time. They are semester break, but they actually managed to do they learn to be very, what they call, effective. The management part, they become very effective rather than I'm an engineer, I'm a robotic, a mechatronic engineer, I just deliver to you, somebody else catching up, do the notes. Now they actually have to build up a team to actually do some compilation of reports, some compilation of manuals and so on. So this is one part which I think the blessing out of this COVID. So you can see that I really hope it becomes a habit and later on it turns into culture. Okay, because that is actually one of the most difficult thing to get from startup. You call them, I want a report. They say, sir, can I give you in 1 week, and so on. So if you give them template, also they don't answer. They just put it, just for the sake of filling up. So I guess this kind of habit. There are many more challenges and what they call silver lining. Okay, some of it didn't come very well, especially food product and so on. But I can see these are the things that everyone, we have to retain the knowledge. So the SECI SECI model is where we can share through documentation. So we can actually we can make sure that the civilization activity can be recorded. So that is what I see. It's good for blessing in disguise.
Thank you, Prof. So Mr. Ammar, from your experience in Canada and working in with several countries, so what are the challenges, opportunities in startups in those countries that you are working with?
Right. Let me first start with the Canadian environment. In Canada, we have different types of funding for startups. There's the government funding, and there are the startups incubators that also receives government funding. And the third most important part, which is the universities funding that comes through their businesses or engineering programs. And there is private funding by all these investors that also invest in organizations as well. One of the biggest challenges for now, and actually it's been before COVID and after COVID, is bringing the product internationally, because as you know, 70% of the Canadian export goes directly to the US. It's actually between 60 to 80%. So we're taking an average of 70%. So for now, and what they've been facing in Canada here with their startups is actually bringing the product for countries like India, Asia, in general in Asia and Africa, and also more importantly, the European Union as well. Regarding that matter, what they're trying to do actually during COVID is now they became more aware that the US is not only the final destination for our product. So basically, COVID created opportunities for Canadian companies and Canadian investors who actually have the conservative mentality to keep the product either patent in North America and never to spread it around, to pushing them forward to bring the product to Asia and North and South America as well. So these are really huge factors when it comes to the economy in general, and when it comes to the environmental side. Stick with the topic as well. We are monitoring and watching that Canada, for example, one of the top 100 countries in the world that works in the environment sector, 13 Canadian companies are in that list, which is very great. And also it shows that the government here and also people are originally oriented into the environmental side. It's in the government program. It's also in many parties program. Like, for example, we have the Green Party, which is a well-established party, has been working in the environmental sectors for over 30, 40 years now. And they are really pushing forward to more policies. For example, we are now having the carbon tax that actually being pushed towards people. So this actually brings opportunities to companies to try to bring products to all these mining companies to filter, for example, their outputs.
Thank you. So, Mr. Raz, from your experience in Singapore, Switzerland, and Malaysia, and you've been involved and collaborating with different organizations with the social agenda, with this organization which try to create social impact. So, how do you see those experiences in terms of their challenges pre and post COVID, and what are the opportunities for the future?
Well, I guess there are abundant opportunities, coming up before and after COVID pandemic. What I've experienced, from my past endeavors, that actually took place in Singapore as well as in Switzerland, Malaysia, Indonesia, as well as African nation, they have actually adopt a completely different approach and methodologies, but to actually solving social issues, But when COVID pandemic, set in, well, everything changed. The confidence plummet to unprecedented lows, and the confidence is almost absent, right? So, but having said that, I believe that with my strategic partnerships, with universities, in Malaysia, as well as companies in Malaysia, I believe that with a new methodologies, with a new understanding of the situations here, I believe there is a way, to actually come up with a different or new method and approach, to startups, to helping startup companies in Malaysia. And well, I've been supporting companies in Indonesia, Malaysia, as well as in Singapore, and they are into healthcare solutions. They are into clean energy. They are into affordable homes, and so on. Yes, well, in my opinion, there are opportunities. The law,
Yeah. So, Mr. Ammar, from your experience, and I believe you are one of the successful examples in Malaysia, and you are into the real business of environment and climate. So, how your experience been in the market? What are the challenges, and how do you see the opportunities for the future?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Wesam, for the kind invitation, and also the the Policy Times from India. And I think I'm very grateful to be alongside with all these experts to discuss on this topic. And before I start on my point, Dr. Wesam, I would just like to highlight that, maybe some of the viewers out there would think about, why are we talking about startups when everybody's talking about the downfall of businesses, right? Well, I think it is very interesting for us to talk about this subject, because a lot of people out there, especially when it comes to future entrepreneurs or future business owners, would think that... Sorry, Dr. Wesam.
Can I ask you kindly, please, to mute the other mics just to have a clear conversation? Thank you so much.
Okay, is that
Yeah,
clear
Mr.
enough?
Ammar, go on, please.
Okay, sorry, because I'm just using my phone here, just one. Okay, so
That's okay.
again,
I'm
I mean,
a private analyst.
I see. Okay, sorry. Okay, so is it clear now? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, so I think it is a very interesting subject that we are talking about, where people are talking about the downfall of business, and right now we are talking about the startup of a business. So what's the point of us discussing on this subject matter right now? And I think it is very, very relevant for us to have the saying of idea to all the future entrepreneurs out there, that regardless of the economy, regardless of COVID-19 and any pandemic whatsoever, opportunities would always lie when there is a problem, or when there is something that needs a solution. Okay, so in this event, if I could put it in my position, although my businesses are affected by the COVID-19, but it doesn't show or doesn't say that it cannot be run at all. Okay, what this means is that for any other sort of startups, it can happen. Okay, no one can say that you cannot start a company during a pandemic. Let's look at for example, history. Apple, let's say Microsoft also, and also Uber, and also let's say Airbnb. They existed during the time of crisis, economic crisis at that time. So how can this relate to you not able to start a business if these companies have shown us otherwise? So what I mean to say is that if I could share with all the young entrepreneurs out there, especially, that challenges would always be there. It's part and parcel of business. Okay, you cannot say that you're going to run a business, you're going to get a profit, you're going to be a millionaire, and that's it. Okay, no, there would be always hurdles and challenges, and these are the type of things that we need to face every single day. Okay, this COVID-19 is just a lesson learned for all business owners out there, and I think it is important to say that one of the most challenging issues, okay, especially when it comes to our subject of matter that we are discussing today, is when it comes to waste management. Okay, waste management. Why I say that? Because everybody creates waste. Okay, me, you, and everybody out there. Okay, regardless of food packaging, our food waste, anything that we buy. I mean, the packaging that we have, even so our plastic bags, that are all waste. Okay, so because of that, I would say that there would always be an opportunity towards managing those waste, and that's just on the household waste. Let's talk about the schedule waste from industries, for example. So any type of manufacturing would produce waste. And this kind of thing, when I serve my clients and I can see their positive drive towards the environment, like how Prof mentioned just now, they really take care of the environment per se, because they know that if they do not take care of that, the business altogether will not work. The business model, the image and everything will not work altogether. So what this means is that as a startup, you really need to think about your operation that would benefit, not just you as an entrepreneur or your business, but also the planet in itself. Okay, your problem the problem that you're trying to give a solution must take care into the holistic point of view in terms of your business. The minimum thing that I could think of besides the waste management is the logistics part. Meaning to say that if you sell a product online, still you have an issue when concerned about environment due to logistics, because of course right now we don't have many electric cars on the road. We are using fossil fuels. So these are the challenges that we need to think of on how startups can solve these kind of problems. And again, back to the waste management part, I really serve with clients dealing with schedule waste at the moment right now, and they are really looking at ways on how to not send their waste to the landfill as a means of as a final destination of disposal. They are thinking about right now people are talking about, or my clients right now are doing what they are doing is co-processing, meaning that from the ashes of waste that they can supposed to landfill, they are using it as a matter of an alternative material for cement factories, for example, as an add-on material to their cement manufacturing process. So because of that, opportunity would always be there as long as you can see there is an opportunity to be solved in terms of the problems of your clients. So I would say that if I could have this opportunity to talk to all the entrepreneurs out there, do not think that economy or any pandemic would give the restriction for you to chase your dreams and goals. But in fact, it will create more opportunities. And if I could share, Dr. Wesam and all the panels here, Let's say, for example, right now we have a product, okay, which we manufacture ourselves into giving out to thermal treatment plant in a sense to reduce the emission control of acid gases. Okay, so because of the new pandemic, we can sell. Okay, again, an opportunity. Before that, we did not use the kind of model or the kind of jargons or wordings to sell our products. But right now, we can say that because of the COVID-19, we want to reduce the particle emissions to make sure that, again, there is study associating particles with COVID-19, and, it's really creating a much more distress level when it comes to that. So we are telling our clients that if you can minimize the particles in the air, then you would have minimal problem when it comes to the spread of COVID-19, for example. So these are the kind of opportunities that I can share with you in terms of the market that we have to look at as in a holistic point of view. And as an entrepreneur, we should take advantage rather than just to be idle and do nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Ammar. So back to Prof. K. Based on your previous experience, so what is your advice for the new startups, for those people who are thinking to startups in the Malaysian context and within the international setup as well, Prof. K? Maybe you need to unmute yourself, Prof.
Sorry, I forgot. I was saying just now. Okay, I was reading the World Economic Forum last night, and these are some of the opportunities. Okay, very interesting. It says that as consumers and corporations look to save money, which I mentioned earlier on, okay, and cut costs, which, in any situation, in a downturn, people are starting to look at costs, which is what, if I may say this again, startups should also look at, okay? So startups that increase your efficiency, those who are already in business, okay, and utilize smart financial mechanisms. I say this again, because it's very important. And you can, just now we heard someone from Canada who were mentioning there are different, bodies, even the government and some ministries are actually having a lot of grants and a lot of funds. So you should be smart enough to identify where they are and get your networking right and secure all those funding for your startup, what they call outfit, okay? Those startups, if you are able to have access to smart financial mechanisms, then the word that they use by the World Economic Forum is, okay, then you are particularly well positioned. Now, I just want to share with you, okay, zoom in into the environment sector and examples of some of the startups, okay, that are doing very well. For example, Terra-based, it mentions. So these are the people who do digitizing of solar power plants. And then you have the Raptor Maps. They are into aerial imagery. And then you have Wattby, okay? They regulate the energy market, what they call performance. And then you have Station A, okay? They models and they predict clean energy and all this technical stuff, okay? And you have this is interesting, the Energetic Insurance, okay? It's a startup company, but their job is to ensure against any barriers to financing of clean energy. So we are talking about clean energy now. And people are talking about it. And I think someone earlier on, one of the panelists mentioned, Ammar, I think mentioned, or I think it was, I can't remember, it was OMAR or Prof. Zaidi, I think I had mentioned. It's, what do you call, about electric cars and things like that, and about this concern. We've been talking about it for the last 20 years. Okay, we are worried about the planet. We are worried about the carbon footprint, and because of the COVID, 3 months we all stay in house. No cars going out, no jams. We suddenly find that everything is fresh. The sea is nicer. The rivers are cleaner. And even when I went back into my apartment in PD, I saw that even the pigeons are making nests at the top of my air conditioners. So you see, all these things are taking place. But again, as I was reading, there are some people, some school of thought who says that you do not relate COVID, the period of COVID, to show that we are helping because of no economic activity. The world become better, and we are actually taking care of the planet. So to just look at it from that point, some argue that that's not right. So don't forget, economic activity is important. So if you're trying to link that together, it's not actually appropriate. That's one school of thought. So again, what else that I wanted to say that I was reading that I missed out? Okay. In terms of we have a lot of how you call it? Okay. In terms of funding, we cannot rely again on just the central banks. Okay, that's why in Malaysia, I'm talking from the Malaysian context, you need to have the push from the EPU, from the government, the Economic Planning Unit, and as well as from the MOF, Ministry of Finance. Otherwise, if you allow, we just leave it to the central bank to ensure, they manage all the, because there are some banks, some naughty banks who will make it life difficult for startups for you to get loans. Okay, that's.
Okay, Prof.
Sorry. Yeah, okay,
thank you, Prof.
Yeah,
thank you. Prof. Zaidi, from the previous experience, so how you are looking into improving the opportunities for the new startups, which is linked to the university, and how you are upgrading their skills and building their capacities. Prof. Zaidi.
He's muting. He has mute.
Same as me. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wesam. Okay. So as you know, I'm from the Institute of Higher Learning, University Technology Malaysia. So one of the things that we found very interesting was actually the time where the COVID pandemic hit us and the restriction movement order was started in 18 March. And since then, actually, UTM was the first university actually to start our online training, online learning on the 1st of April. Okay, we started, and many why actually we took the decision to start on the 1st of April, because we need to give some ample time for students to become, not only students, for the community, for the lecturers, to become what you call customized to the use of non-face-to-face, like virtual devices, virtual communication like Zoom or WebEx and so on. Okay, so this is to support the development of knowledge during the time where people can say like they are disconnected. Okay, many people are saying that we are disconnected. We couldn't actually do whatever our activity anymore. Like what Mr. Ammar mentioned. Okay, you shouldn't think that way, and it's really true. I actually told my entrepreneur, my students who are doing businesses, who are young entrepreneurs. Some of them, they even kick off. I really agree. Some of them, they even kick off their business in May. Okay, they kick off this business doing drop shipping. Drop shipping. It's like it's really good, because the business model previously they were actually developing products and getting suppliers. It's food products, suppliers to supply to them, and then they deliver. But later on, because they couldn't do the delivery, they don't have the license to do. They are actually restricted to do that. So what they did, what actually we do, we conducted with around 8 companies who are doing supplying and drop shipping, okay, delivery and so on. So the students can still run as long as they have the knowledge, particularly in digital. We call it digital marketing. Okay, we have a course where we embed digital commerce there. So students will get the knowledge of, for example, how to come up with teaser. Okay, either in video form and so on, and then how they monitor their posts through the soft selling and hard selling. Okay, so students prior to the COVID, they were like, I think I'm not going to look at to put myself fully on the digital commerce. I can actually still see people and then do the conventional selling, but later on it was like 100%. 180% change, 180 degree change. Said they were like, oh, we need to change who is going to send, who is going to deliver. So these are the kind of things that they started to change their thinking. Okay, like what Professor K mentioned, that they have to think that way. Okay, number two, after they started having the digital things and so on, they also started to really appreciate data. Okay, because data that were actually generated from the social network, for example, if they use Facebook, they use Instagram, they have insights. So this data actually is very, very powerful, but they need to really know how to actually interpret. So this is where they started to really sharing. Of course, we have it in our curriculum. You need to interpret the data and so on. So they started to share because they have data, a lot of data. They started to share, and then we actually asked them to actually reflect what should you do. So we actually we managed to see several students, okay, who are actually doing startup during this pandemic and so on. They managed to connect with new prospect, and it becomes their customer just from the data, because from their teaser, there's a lot of people who are not in their target group become their customer. So because most of them are selling food, okay, so it's very highly opportunity if they really know how to deal with the data generated by digital commerce. So what I learned, I can tell students, first, please leverage on the technology, because technology will not get infected by COVID. Okay, it will be infected by other viruses, okay, computer viruses, but network and hack, but they are very good infrastructure and so on, support from a lot of agencies, MDEC and so on, for the digital commerce, and the Ministry of Entrepreneurship also coming out with digital support for funding. Make sure they get the knowledge there. Okay, number two, use big data. The big data that are generated, okay, they must really understand how to actually utilize it, how to actually interpret it, and then to make sure that either they want to grow their business, and they want to reintroduce their. Some of them they actually push their product, but it didn't work. But I asked them to reintroduce during the COVID. It worked. It really worked, because people started to spend. I don't know how many hours you guys spend on the internet now. 24 hours, I guess, because from morning until night, there's no excuse of not Zoom. Sometimes we have meeting, we have Zoom, one Zoom, and then another device, WebEx, another device also. We have 3 into 1. So people are very get into the habit of understanding data. So use it, leverage it. I think either it's about climate change or it's about pandemic, whatever it is, what they call entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur should be able to actually find ways to leverage whatever technology, and then to if they are going into the big data, digital commerce,
Okay,
get
Prof.
the out of it and so on. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Wesam.
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Ammar, you mentioned about the issue of how the products can cross borders, and how you handle this challenge in Canada. Is it more on collaborations with organization worldwide?
The supply chain in Canada is mainly based on having its own network with different branches in the world. So there are different kind of, like, sometimes they do partnerships and sometimes they do just like a matter of a franchise. So in the partnership matter, they provide with the whole technology. They provide with the consultancy, and they provide with the quantitative and qualitative analysis, and the forecasting as well. So basically, let's get back to that data subject, because the way of how they completely support their organizations, or like their partners and other organizations, is basically to be as strategic as possible, with having a smart, what they call here, business intelligence applications that they use in order to forecast the future demand and supply.
Okay, thank
If
you.
that's answering questions.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mr. Raz, how do you see the collaborations between those organizations with the social agenda and the academic institution, and the integration of those efforts for the benefits of the community within the context of the startup, Mr. Raz?
He's still muting. He has to unmute.
Unmute, please, Mr. Raz.
Mr. Razi, is he still there?
Okay, so let's go to Mr. Ammar. So based on your experience, Mr. Ammar, and you've been through this challenge, so how you can see the competitiveness in the Malaysian market? Is it more on collaborations, more on finance issues, more on the different challenges, and how you can advise new startups to come over all these challenges?
Okay, I think that's all right. Thank you, Dr. Wesam. I think that's a very valid question, because I would answer to to the question just now, Dr. Wesam, a little bit of both. So there's a lot of things that you need to really think about when it comes to setting up your business, and also surviving throughout the business lifetime. So I think I like what Dr. Zaidi and also Mr. Omar mentioned just now regarding what the data that businesses have to use in terms of making calculated risk. All right, you cannot just do something or execute a plan if you do not have sufficient amount of data for you to basically enroll your plans. So in this case, it's not like Titanic. You jump, I jump. It's not like that, right? So it's something that concerns about the thing that you need to really look at, whether it's okay to do or not. But of course, every single thing that you want to do would have a risk, but you just have to make it as such that you know that you would survive on taking that risk if there were to be a risk. Okay, so in the event of you being an entrepreneur, I think you have to understand that it is not subject to a very straightforward line of process. Okay, it's always volatile in a sense. Okay, not just the market, not just the things that might affect your business. Internally, your staffing, you yourself as an entrepreneur, the idea keeper, and so forth. So this is very important for everyone to understand that it is an ecosystem altogether. But it must start from the entrepreneur himself. Okay, so the idea is that if you want to be successful in every single thing that you want to do, is that you need to make sure that you yourself is stable enough to think through of what plans are you making towards the successful of the business. Okay, so this is where I think entrepreneurs need to think in a holistic approach. Everything needs to be calculated in a way so that if you want to take a risk, then do so, but it must be in a means that you are able to predict what would happen next. Okay, so survival is a thing that business have to do each time. Okay, so profit loss is always there. You cannot just get profit all the time. There would always be competition in place. So you have to make yourself relevant at all times. That's the most key. That's the thing that I think as a part of a survival of a company. Being solving solution, providing solution is one thing, but also being relevant in the market is another thing. Okay, so I think to give advice, to give my final say to the entrepreneurs out there, I think entrepreneurs need to think out of the box. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have heard this, but it is true in a way that we must think what happens next, what is there for us, how can we make advantage of this situation that would benefit the company, for example. So these are the kind of questions that entrepreneurs have to think and be creative in a way, and at the end it's innovation that counts.
Thank you. So Mr. Raz, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Yes, so Mr. Raz, do you see more opportunities for startups with the social agenda, with environmental and climatic change perspectives within the sustainability concept post-COVID-19?
Yes, I can see there's a lot of potential for investors to actually partake in the journey of the startups in Asia. primarily in Malaysia. Just to cite one example, I am now working with mechatronic faculty at University Malaya, and these guys are developing a gadget called TalkMate. This gadget, is specially designed to actually help the stroke patient to communicate. Right, they can't talk, so they have to press button to actually communicate. Just like communicate. Just like I want to eat, and so they just press
The button.
button. And
What do you call that?
there's a button.
What do you call it? What talk?
TalkMate. TalkMate.
Oh, TalkMate.
TalkMate. TalkMate. Yes, TalkMate. Yes. Okay. What happened here is that if you look at the there are two components incorporated in our decision to support before we support this project. First is the green aspect. So we actually told the researchers that the gadget has to be made up of greener products, right? So they got a source in China and so on to make sure that they have materials that are greener. And number two is it has to create massive social impact in terms of the pricing, yes, in terms of the usage, and of course, in terms of the access to the market. So what happened here is that I am a United Nations Special Ambassador for Singapore and beyond. So I used that platform to actually help TalkMate to gain access to United Nations platform to market across Africa, probably China, and all these so-called emerging nations. So there's a lot of potential here. And what about the urban farming? And I am into it as well. What about the sanitation? And what about waste to energy, which I am involved now in Indonesia? So there are a lot of potential here, especially for startups. And I have actually worked with quite a number of like-minded impact investors, to take on these challenges. And I've been telling them, and I've been convincing them, this is the way to go. Helping out startups, to actually create massive social impact, to create massive environmental impact, where they can be part of it. Yes, to your questions, yes, there are plenty of opportunities. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Raz. Prof. Can you please just give us conclusive remarks on the future potential?
Okay. And before I forget, but I just wanted to, I was very attracted to what Razi was mentioning. So in a sense, I think he was promoting green technology here. So in other words, the conditions that he set up for the
green technology. Yes.
TalkMate. Yeah, energy efficient, environmental friendly, that kind of thing. Am I right, Razi?
TalkMate. Yes, TalkMate.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So, but it's very interesting because not many people know when you talk about green, it's not painting the building green. Okay, most people.
No, it's not. Yeah.
But you see, that's why I wanted to zero in on what you just said, because green technology is part of what we are talking about: climate change and environment. And the green technology, until today, people do not understand. They think green is what painting. Some businessmen, some startups, do not understand the concept of green technology. But I suppose those who are science-based, engineering-based.
Prof, you mean there should be more on awareness programs for the startups who will be involved in those sustainability on the green and sustainability aspects.
Exactly, Dr. Wesam. They should understand. In fact, people do not understand very much about sustainability. I would imagine that this is the time, because earlier on I was mentioning about different schools of thought. We can let it be. There will always be differing schools of thought. But if you ask my views, I would say that there should be more awareness about understanding about the SDG, okay, the 17 United Nations SDG, about green technology, about what do you mean by sustainability? What do you mean by environment? So in fact, 20 years ago, I already saw the future is in waste management. It's already happening.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's already happening. It's big business.
Yeah.
And
It is. It is.
yeah, okay. And since I'm on the subject, it's very interesting that someone yesterday was talking about that foreign workers what do you call now there's in Malaysia they are trying to not trying to give opportunities, more employment for the locals. What do you call? But whoever was talking about it yesterday did not actually sectionalize it. See, because in Malaysia, many people don't want to pay attention to the 3D. Okay, I'm sure you know what I mean. Those dangerous. What are ni? Apa ni, Dr. Zaidi? Apa ni? Dangerous. What do you call? I don't know. So many locals stay away from those type of job. So my worry is when you don't allow foreign workers to do that, maybe not just probably in Singapore too, or probably in some other countries. What do you call? Then it will further contribute to what do you call these problems. But the plus side will be for example, toilets. So if you adopt green technology, then you know that what is the correct amount of water that you need. Like what is the correct amount of wattage so that you will become energy efficient. Things like that, Dr. Wesam. So I would, if I may say that this should be the things that you may like to look in. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Prof. Zaidi, just a final, quick, conclusive remarks on the topic, on the potential for the future. How do you see the opportunities?
Okay. I think everyone knows about the 17 SDGs. Okay, everyone is talking about it. I always tell my students either they are interested to be entrepreneur or not. If they want to become entrepreneur or not, they need to understand the 17 SDGs because it's everything under the sun.
Right.
It's actually cover everything. Okay, there are reports on the SDGs. Yesterday I received reports on some of the elements out of the 17 which are still in stagnant stage, improving and so on. So those are opportunities. Okay, so I told them, they always ask me what kind of things to do. I say this is the thing where you can start. Okay, you start from that, from your field, either you are from computing, from engineering, mechanical engineering or civil engineering, whatever it is. The most important thing is to excel in whatever you do in science, technology, engineering for the well-being and prosperity of mankind. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Omar, a final quick conclusive remarks.
Yeah, 100%. It's very obvious here that people are trying to focus, even in Canada, about the social impact and social responsibilities. These are main concepts about any kind of startup. They are putting the social impact as first before even the product here. Every business is focusing on that as much as possible and connecting it to serving the community and every single community in every single area. The third is using AI, artificial intelligence, as a tactic to reach technology, and also try to implement as much as possible business intelligence methodologies and applications to bring the most efficient solutions for their business.
Thank you. Mr. Ammar?
Okay, so if I could have a final say, Dr. Wesam, here as a chance for me to, get my message to especially young entrepreneurs out there, because I started doing business when I was 24. So I would say that, there's no reasoning into you getting into the business market, because you just need that passion of yours. And to find that passion, you need to understand your purpose. Okay, your purpose of why you do what you do. So I think one of the key items why businesses survive for their founders especially is because the founders know exactly their destination of where they want to go, or the problems that they would give value to other people. Okay, so in this case, what we are talking about is the environment. So I love what I do. I wake up every single day to a smile, I would say, because I know that, you know, besides serving my clients, I could also save the environment at the same time, because I educate my clients on how to do it. And also I supply products to do so. Okay, so in that manner, I think all the entrepreneurs need to think ahead of why they do what they do. And at the end of the day, it must be a good, solid cause for you to be persevere into your mission in life. Okay.
Mr. Raz, a final and closing remarks before we end the discussion.
Well, I believe that COVID-19 has forced many investors, including myself, to reposition our portfolios. I think as economic activity resumes, investors are looking to new sectors, location, and so on. Okay, that's my take. The other one is the green. I think the green has become more fully business-oriented because of failing to use environmentally friendly supplies, and then the power of making green part of your brand. And of course, the customer segment you could attract the greener product, and the economic saving you could reap from more environmentally efficient practices. These are the things. I think these are the way that the startups have to consider.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raz. So I would like, at the end of the forum, I would like to thank everybody, Prof. K, Prof. Zaidi, Mr. Omar, Mr. Ammar, and Mr. Raz, for this wonderful discussion and a very positive contribution to the topic. And I'll give back the floor to Mr. Akram.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wesam. Wonderful discussion. In fact, couple of points I noted, and we have a couple of questions, but I don't want to take to delay. I'm really proud that we had the youngest panel, and the youngest one being Prof. Khaeruddin at the age of 55. And the rest of the panelists are very young. And thank you. I think you have learned some innovative ideas and some innovative concepts out of the discussion. So we will meet you next week with similar magnitude of our panelists and experts, and we'll talk on a different subject. Thank you. Keep watching. If you are not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe.
It's my big pleasure to speak to all of you. So.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed.
Yes.
Yeah, we enjoy very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.